Thank you all for having us, and thank you, Sally, and the Carson J Spencer Foundation, the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention. Thank you to all the speakers who are here and this great topic, and the level of interest. And you can tell the level of interest, and you can gauge the level of interest by what Sally mentioned, which is, you all are in your seats. You all are engaged. You all are asking questions, and I think that that's a powerful thing when we talk about this topic. Now, there's two things I want to talk about today. One is some of the things that we're doing at the NFL with our players to break down stigma and assist in providing services and then access to those services. But before I talk about that, I'm just going to talk about part of the reason that I'm here talking about this topic is because this topic is part of my life. I had what most would say is a successful NFL career. Played 9 years. 9 years in the NFL, played for the Miami Dolphins and Indianapolis Colts. I was a linebacker, loved smashing into people. Still love to smash into people, and if anybody's down for that, I'm all in. And during that time of playing, I got an opportunity to go back to school and get my master's degree while I was playing. And I say I got an opportunity. Actually, they started calling me the old dude in the locker room, and so I figured it was about time that I started looking at what was going to be next on my list of things to do. And so finished my degree, played my last year in Indianapolis, got hurt. It was a tough year. And at that point said, you know what, I have a master's degree. I've had this career. Let me go ahead and move on. And I say career, and I use that word loosely. It's more of an experience. A career is something that you actually really do retire from. And the NFL it's an experience. And it's a wonderful experience. But there can be some challenges in transition out of that. And so I moved on. I went to work 2 months after I officially decided to leave the game. And I was working as a psychotherapist in an intensive outpatient program for adjudicated youth. So I kind of jumped right into the fire as far as this work in this field. But I had a lot of trouble transitioning. Had a lot of trouble disconnecting. And that trouble led me to have suicidal thoughts, a stage of depression that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And it was fortunate for me that I had people around me, including my wife and my child, who was, he was very young at the time. He's 11 now. And my friends and other close people who recognized that something was different about me, and they spoke up and said something. And because they did, I was able to go and get counseling that was extremely helpful in helping me to not just, so you look at what I did, and I was kind of the poster child for doing it the right way. I didn't make a lot of money, but I didn't have a lot of expenses, and so I was okay leaving the game. And then I had this degree, this master's degree. I went into the field right away. It's sort of a great transition, right? But I missed football, and I felt like a failure. And I said this to Tim earlier today as we were talking. Anything that you do and you're the best at what you do and you're at the top, and you guys are CEOs and leaders of organizations, if all of a sudden you couldn't do that, how would you feel if that was taken away from you? Just to give you the mindset of some of the NFL players or professional athletes that you see who seem to have this sad story. If you're the best at what you do and somebody takes that away from you, who are you? And where do you go? And that's where I was. Even though I had this great 9-year career, I was mad I didn't play 10. I was angry that I didn't play 10. I couldn't even watch the game for 2 years. So I say all of that to say this is something that's very important to me, very important to who I am and what I do and why I do it. Because I look at the guy who only plays 2 years, who hasn't finished his undergrad degree, and all of a sudden he's out of the game. I know he's struggling. And I want to be there for that guy to help him through, because there were people that were there for me to help me through. So we'll go ahead and get started. You guys are very smart people in this room. How do you answer this question? What do you think are the top 10 myths, misconceptions around mental health? And not just in diverse populations. Let's talk about men, with men. And I'm sorry, Larissa, if I'm stepping on any toes. I want to talk about men because, there's a lot of testosterone with the guys that I work with. And very much like the police officers and firemen. So what are some of those misconceptions, those myths that people have? Anybody, just throw it out.
Personal weakness.
Weak, yeah. You'd be perceived as weak. What else?
Take care of it on your own.
Yeah, you can handle it on your own. No worries, I got this.
Talking about suicide will make someone do it.
Yeah, so if you talk about it, then you're more likely to do it, right. What are some of the other, what's that?
People with mental health conditions are violent.
They're violent, right. There's something wrong with you if you have a mental health condition. And then the media sometimes perpetuates that stereotype.
Can't get your job done.
Can't get your job done. Yeah, you're not reliable if you have a mental health issue.
If you ask for help, you'll be locked up.
If you ask for help, you'll be locked up or locked out. You'll be locked out of that thing that you want to do. What else?
Mental illness defines me. Physical illness defines some part of me that ain't working.
Right. So admitting to being mentally ill means that there is something broken about you. Great. And for the sake of time, I'm going to share with you that this is a question that I've asked our 2013 and 2014 drafted rookie class at our symposium. So we start off talking about mental health, talking about the misconceptions around mental health in an effort to educate these guys. And as we talked about, or as Dr. Litz talked about, protective factors. Education, awareness is part of that. You create awareness, and you create it as early as you can. I came into this position at the beginning of 2013 with the mission and goal that we were going to change the way we acted and interacted as it relates to mental health. And I've been happy to lead that charge in trying to change. So we talk about stigma. We talk about reducing stigma. Next one. And some of the ways we do that is through total wellness. Chief Tate, not to steal your thunder, but we've been working on, no, it's great. I don't know, we have a lot of stuff out there. But our wellness initiative is called Total Wellness, and it's built on those 4 pillars that you see: research, education, awareness, prevention, and intervention. But when we think about total wellness and trying to convey mental health awareness to this macho group of guys, and I was one of them. That's, suffered in silence because I was one of those, I got this, I can handle this myself. But as we talk about wellness with these guys, we look at it, and oftentimes when I talk about total wellness, I put my arms out like this because I think of wellness, and we talk about wellness with 4 other pillars. So we talk about physical strength as one of those pillars. And everybody knows what that looks like as it relates to a football player. When we talk about personal strength, your family relations, your relationships with your friends, that's one of those pillars under total wellness. And we talk about financial strength as a challenge with young guys in being given a lot of money or earning a lot of money early on and not exactly knowing what to do financial strength has to be part of those 4 pillars. And then that next pillar is the one that oftentimes gets overlooked. And that's that emotional wellness or emotional strength. And total wellness has given us an opportunity to have these conversations in a non-threatening way with guys. It's not that we want to avoid talking about mental health, but emotional wellness is a little more digestible. And as you relate that to performance, they start to get it. They start to understand, yeah, this can get in the way of my success on the field. And so we have these programs that are available to all current and former players. Next slide. We've also formed an advisory committee that is made up of psychologists, psychiatrists like Dr. Draper, who's going to speak in a little while. Dr. Litz has also been a part of that advisory committee in helping us to formulate our approach, our mental health approach, not just internally, but externally facing as well. And some of the organizations, the JED Foundation, Link to Health, and Centerstone are some of those organizations that we've partnered with, along with Cigna, who's the insurance carrier for the Players Plan, to really try to do some innovative things as it relates to mental health and mental health awareness. Talked about the Rookie Symposium. We talked about the myths and misconception breakout. Again, that's discussed with every rookie. We had a reaching out panel that included some former players who've had mental health challenges and have taken the steps to reach out. And so we're encouraging these guys to reach out. Guys like Eddie George and Warwick Dunn, recognizable names and faces that these rookies can look at and get up on stage and talk about, hey, I've dealt with this mental health challenge and I've reached out, I've gotten the assistance I need. And so those guys are more likely to pay attention. And then transition assistance program, working with our former players. We just had one in Atlanta. And I'm talking really fast because I want to make sure I give Dr. Draper enough time and to share his information. Our transition assistance program, working with our former players around those issues of transition. And then our crisis toolkit, which is available to all 32 clubs. It's a toolkit that helps our organizations to draft and create a crisis response team. It's a platform that they can take and put together this crisis team. It gives them all the background information they need. Who are the resources you need on this team? Who are the people that you need at the table? And how do you set this up? And it's a very effective way of getting organizations on the same page as it relates to responding to crises situations. And again, this is a toolkit that's available to all 32 teams. This is the crisis management portal. And it's a private access to all 32 teams, as well as the NFL League office in New York. And it, again, is a framework that allows us to set up, create these crisis response teams, train one another on how to do that. Practice scenarios are suggested as well to make sure that there's a crisis response team and recognizing some of the challenges around mental health and the crises that can arise at your organization. Next slide. So again, crisis management toolkit, debriefing after crisis, and unfortunately, a lot of these things have come about because of some of the challenges that the NFL has faced, in suicide in particular. When you see high-profile individuals take their own life, we all stand up and take notice. And it's unfortunate that we've had to see that in order to take these steps, but we're taking them and we're running with it now. To make sure that we can get out ahead and educate players on the front end and support them on the back end. And the crisis management toolkit allows us to do that. Again, sample forms, examples of how to set up these crisis response programs for your organization. And we have 32 teams. and there's 32 personalities, none are the same. Different owners, different GMs, different managers, and they are all different. And so to be able to craft, instead of trying to take one and cookie cut for everybody, they can take it and make it their own based on their organizational structure. Next slide. Again, just touching on a couple of these. So we have our Rookie Success Program. Again, these are educational, preventative measures that we take. All rookies are mandated to go through 8-module life skills program. And this has been going on for about the last 8 years around different topics, including stress management and healthy and unhealthy relationships. We have our professional development segment that talks about different kinds of life skills. All players are mandated to go through these professional development sessions. Our EAP, and our EAP is, I think, is one of the best that I've seen, provides our players and their family, anyone in their household, 8 free counseling sessions for any issue that comes up. And so if a couple comes to counseling, dealing with the marital issue, and he's struggling with anxiety and she's struggling with depression, now they have 8 more sessions for those 2 issues along with their marital counseling. I think that that's just fantastic. And what we've seen with our EAP is as we've started to talk about it more and get the information out there and share this information, talk about mental health and stop trying to hide it and sweep it under the rug, we've seen a tripling of usage of that EAP in the last year, or since the Total Wellness Program has started. And I think that that's outstanding. We're not done, but I think we're on the right path. And we've done some good things, but we still have a lot more to do. Clearly, we have a lot more to do. So I'm not up here to pat the NFL on the back, but just here to share some of the programs that we have. And then the NFL Lifeline, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Draper, that we've worked really closely with Dr. Draper and his team to have this private, confidential, independent NFL Lifeline. Thank you.